recording on.
It's ready, right?
Yeah, here we go.
All right. Well, hello everybody. I would like to say hello to all of you. First of all, I would like to say that this is not an English class. First of all, I want to clarify that this is something informal, like just a conversation between Chloe and me. So I would like to clarify that we are just two people interested in learning English. In this case, will be our topic, learning English. So we are going to develop these, give some advices, some ideas, but it's just our perspective about this. It's not something formal. So Chloe, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Chloe, and yeah, this is I'm so exciting about our first conversation on this podcast, and I really hope you guys could enjoy it. And if you got any thoughts or ideas about our episodes and all podcasts, just to let us know, and we are very happy to hear from you. Thank you.
That's great. Well, first of all, to contextualize, I would like to introduce myself to say that I'm Eric. I'm from Argentina. I'm studying the Teaching Training College of English. So when I have the chance, I work in primary and secondary schools teaching English, or with private classes, through virtual classes. So I'm really interested in learning English. I'm in contact with this issue. So I will give just my perspective about this because, I'm not a scholar. I'm not, just to clarify, because I know that there will be comments about this. So, well, that's about me.
Thanks, Eric. We just want to talk about how to learn language in our experience. That might not apply to everybody. So if you think that's useful or helpful to you, we'll be very happy for that, and it will be our motivation to do all the podcast. Yeah, I'm a lecturer at a university in the UK, but when I was little, I was really struggling with learning English. And I started to learn English when I was in primary school, but I always ranked at the bottom of the list in my class. So I was like, oh, I don't know, like English was not my thing. I had never thought I would be teacher at an English speaking country. But it just takes time, I don't know if if you have the same experience before. Yeah, Eric.
No, in my case, English was always, when I was a teenager, I started to learn English with private classes with a private teacher. So the English in school was very, because the English here in Argentina, well, before when I was a teenager, was very basic. Very basic, just grammatical rules, the verb to be all the time, simple present all the time. So was very basic to me. Was very basic and very bold, because when you study all the time just grammar, just at the same time basic grammar, the same grammar all the time. So it's a little bored, and I feel like it's very useless. Well, that's my perspective. To me, it's very useless. I prefer to have a conversation with all the mistakes that you are going to make, that you are going to produce in the learning process. But to me, that is most useful, helpful than just study all the time, just basic grammar, present, simple past, and so on. It's very bored, and to be was very bored. I didn't like it. I didn't like English because I knew all the things that I worked and on the school, so was quite bored in my case.
Neither did I. Oh my God, I would rather have math class than have an English class with my teacher. And also, I feel like that might happen to many people when they were young. So I just wanted to say, it can be very tough. And, when I had a few sessions, like classes with my students, they were like, I'm sorry, I'm not good at speaking or listening English. How can I reach that level in a very, I don't know, at a super speed? I was like, oh, okay, well, it's good you had these kind of thoughts. You want to improve and make progress towards your North Star. But the things, it does take time. You do need to be patient with yourself and the things that you are learning. Yeah, and when you have a lot of things on your plate, like, okay, I've got to remember all the vocabulary, grammars, I don't know, like all sorts of techniques to listen and speak English, you need to prioritize which one is the most important to you. Like, let's say if you feel like, okay, I don't really understand what they're talking about. Like, oh, what does this word mean? What does that mean? Well, in that case, you might need to work on your vocabulary and also try to create kind of immersive environment for yourself. Even I'm I'm from China, and my mother tongue is not excuse me. So my mother tongue is Chinese, is certainly not English. For me, it's quite hard, Chinese is completely different than English. So I just did. Well, in the very beginning, I worked on vocabulary. It's like when you were little, you just you do need to pick up some words from your parents and people around you. Then you know, okay, so, oh, banana is a fruit. So I could, I could eat it when I feel like I want to eat something sweet and a bit sour. So yeah, that's just my personal thoughts. Thank you.
Yes, we discussed this yesterday, right?
Yeah.
It's just a suggestion. Like, I mean, you have to start from the beginning, because I knew a lot of people. I met a lot of people that they want to begin, just speaking. It's all writing, so it's quite difficult because maybe you don't have a lot of vocabulary. You don't know, you don't understand all the grammatical rules. But I mean, you don't need to comprehend or to know how to explain a grammatical rule, but you have to begin from the basic grammatical rules. At the same time, acquiring basic vocabulary as well, because how are you going to produce sentences or keep a conversation going without vocabulary? So we discussed this yesterday to give this suggestion that start from the beginning, acquiring basic vocabulary. Maybe nowadays there are a lot of videos on YouTube about the grammatical rules, and they are quite short. They are very clear. Actually, nowadays you can add subtitles to the videos, so in your native language. I mean, maybe the teacher is speaking in English, but you can add subtitles in Spanish. So or in your mother tongue. So there are a lot of tools nowadays. I feel like um, you have to be serious when you are learning something. I mean, this is not that uh, I understand that maybe learning English could be your hobby, but you need a base, you need knowledge. So nowadays you have a lot of tools, YouTube videos. Actually, I feel like could be if you watch a series, you can add subtitles, listen to training your listening, because we discussed about this yesterday, that there are some basic skills that you have to take into account. Listening, um, well, writing and speaking are the most difficult, but first of all, listening, I forget the other one.
Yeah,
This and reading, yes,
yeah,
listening and reading,
exactly.
I feel like are the most basic skills that you have to take into account when you're learning a language. So you we need to pay attention on those issues because are very important. Um, you sometimes when you don't take into account those issues, you will be you will think that you are not able to learn language maybe, or you are not ready for that, but it's not true. It's because you are not beginning. You are not beginning from the first step. That is maybe acquire basic vocabulary, maybe watch a video on YouTube. What do you
Exactly.
think about
Yeah,
this?
that's so true. I totally agree with you. Yeah, say well, you're right. You have to make a start. It's very difficult to step out of your comfort zone. You do need to, it takes courage and effort to get started. But if you just make the first step, everything else would fall into its own place. Everything would unfold in its beautiful way. So, and also, like basically, Eric and I talked about like the role of egos and errors and mistakes, making mistakes in learning a language. It's crucial to learn English as well. So we were saying, yeah, if you, well, basically, if you make a mistake, that's not the end of the world. Every one of us makes mistakes, loads of mistakes every day, but we do need to, learn from it and move forward. It's okay if you make mistakes, the same mistake once or twice. We will learn from it. So we're human beings. We do need to be confident in ourselves. We are wired to learn from our mistakes. So I just want to say denial doesn't work. So just don't have that kind of self-doubt. Yeah, it's okay if you have it. Let's accept it and work on like English stuff, like listening, reading, all sorts of stuff that you need to do on your plate. And as long as you set a very, I don't know, set micro goals, just to move towards them, aim for your goals, that would be great. It just takes time to get there, but it doesn't mean it's impossible to get there. Yeah, I just don't want to, sometimes I feel like when I talk to my some of my students, they were like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I made this mistake. Oh, I did it accidentally." That's okay, like myself, like I make mistakes every day. Even when when I had offline class, I accidentally dropped my bottle, and it's like, wow, I spilled water all over the place on the floor. And my student was like, oh, it's like it's spilled. Yeah, it's okay. Don't worry. I'll take care of it. See, I'm making a mistake, right? I'm gonna learn from it and move forward. Okay, so it's okay. And I just cleaned it. I used some tissue and wiped it out, but it's okay. So yeah, that's just what I want to share with you. And yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I agree with you. The role of the confidence is very important because I
Yeah.
mean, I knew a lot of I know I mean, there are a lot of people that they have a lot of knowledge, but maybe they are shy. They are shy because sometimes there are a lot of people that they practice just themselves, alone. It's not the same when you are face to face with someone. It's totally different, and confidence is very important. I mean, sometimes you are ready, for example, for an exam or something like that, and you are ready, but maybe you are shy, maybe your confidence is not very well, or maybe your mood influence in that moment. So I mean, the confidence is very important, and as you said, make mistakes. We make a lot of mistakes, and it's okay. That's nothing will happen. It's something normal. Obviously, in an academic context or something like that, an exam, well, you may try to practice a little. We didn't do actually. I mean, uh, this is something like is happening right now. We don't. I mean, we prepare the line, but we are improvising a lot. So, I mean,
Yeah.
but if you don't want to make mistakes or something like that in a speaking or I don't know, um, could be in a speech, practice that. But I mean, the confidence is very important. If you feel, I don't know how can I say this. If you feel okay with yourself, just let it be. I mean, you will make mistakes. Well, don't worry. It's okay.
That's so true. I completely agree with you. Yeah, like in terms of you're right. It's like in the beginning, we certainly make mistakes. That's unavoidable. So, but it takes time to get to a point where you're able to have a rhythm. So how long it takes to be a habit is I read some books and heard some professionals mention that it takes around 3 weeks, like at least 21 days to make a habit, which means before then, like before the 21st, like 21st day, you might like find it quite easy to return to whatever your normal pattern is about learning. After that, it would be very easy for you to go forward. So in the beginning, it can be very hard. I personally have come across a lot of situations like that. Yeah, it's like I like workout at gym and dance. I've got to make just to make a schedule for myself. Like, yeah, I'm gonna work out every 2 days and dance every 2 days. In the beginning, it's a bit hard. It's like, oh, I just resisted a bit. I just feel like, I don't really want to do it. Oh, it's time to do it again. But you will be used to that over time. And if you, let's say now, if I didn't work out, didn't go with my schedule, I would feel like, I don't know, it doesn't feel right. I don't feel like fulfilled today. So you need to just to like hang on there in the beginning, and you will get there at some point. Yeah, that's just my idea about it. Yeah.
Yeah, yes, that's great. I agree with you. I mean, I don't remember. I don't remember when I started with learning English, but to me, in my case, I don't know you, but in my case, it's very useful to learn something, uh, uh, to write it in a sheet of paper, or maybe to type it in a computer, because I mean there are a lot of related with the issue of vocabulary. I search a lot of words in the translator or in a dictionary, and after a few minutes I forget the meaning of that word. So sometimes it's very useful to write it, to or maybe to produce sentences with that word, specifically with that word, or I don't know if it's a phrase. Um, uh, I'm thinking when you are started with the language, you begin learning just a few words, a few sentences. I mean, a few phrases. So, but you have to use them. I mean, you will not have all the time a translator. I mean, with you, a dictionary with you. You cannot use your phone all the time, and for that reason, I said a translator. You cannot use your phone all the time. So I feel like a good advice, a good suggestion is to try to write some sentences in a sheet of paper with that word. Um, maybe well, or with that phrase, or well, sometimes maybe you can use a translator, because well, if you are learning by yourself, you will not have a teacher with you. So obviously I feel like a translator is a good tool, but in one moment you have to produce your own sentences. You cannot. I feel like there are a lot of people. I know a lot of people that they depend a lot in the translator. Could be useful if you are having a chat with someone, if you are typing messages, but well, when you are face to face with someone, you don't have the translator there, and you have to think. So I feel like a good idea is to train your writing, a lot, right? Produce, trying to produce your own sentences, and write. It doesn't matter if they are simple sentences, or a simple text, or a simple paragraph. So I feel like it's a good suggestion to write as much as it is possible for you, because I feel like with that method you will acquire um, um, I feel like you will acquire more vocabulary, and you are training your writing, and you are thinking. I mean, if you are using the translator, maybe you are not thinking a lot. I mean, when you produce your own sentences, you are using your mind. So, and you are training your skills. We know that in English, well, in any language, we have a lot of skills. So we need to train them. I mean, for example, if you don't practice your speaking, how are you going to be fluent? Or I don't want to say that you will have a good pronunciation, but that is another topic to discuss. I mean, but well, that is my suggestion.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, 100%. Writing, I quite like writing. It's a good way to kind of like just to clear your mind, to just kind of make everything in place. And you might have a lot of thoughts and ideas in your brain, like they're racing through your brain, but you do need to visualize it. Sometimes visualization helps with clarification, and also like I still believe like your English level depends on the speed of coming up with an image in your brain. The faster an image pops up, the better your English will be. So that's what I have come across. It's like a few years ago, I could feel like English words or some expressions didn't really come to my mind instantly. Just it take a long time to get the words if I wanted to express myself. But now I feel like that gap, the gap between having that word in my brain and like output, like giving output is shortened. So that's really important. So you do need to have enough input. As Eric just mentioned, you do need to do a bit reading and listening, just to have a bit strong input before giving output. So output is more like writing and speaking. Yeah, you need to have that in place as well in terms of transforming from input to output. So it's kind of, I know it can be really really complicated. I don't really want to make it really I don't know, very difficult, but yeah, so Eric is right. You do need to have those kind of inputs and outputs in place. You just need to gradually grow over time. You don't need to just cut kind of okay, I'm gonna cut down my let's say yeah, I'm gonna cut down my speaking and just to focus on reading and listening. It doesn't mean that. It's just that you need to kind of yeah, prioritize like which part is what you are not good at, to work on it and invest more time in it. Yeah, that's it. It's all about trade-off as well, and opportunity cost. When you spend a lot of time on something, you might not be able to spare that amount of time in something else. So yeah, just to try to clear your mind and write it down, that might help. Yeah.
Yes, I agree with you. It's very important to take into account the environment.
Yes.
For example, in my case, I don't live in an English environment. So when I started to learn language, I created my own environment. I mean, there are a lot of people that they say that they train their ears just through listening to music. Sometimes, well, depends, because when when that person is singing, they are not taking into account that pronunciation. So I feel like train your ear through music is a good tool, but not enough. I feel like it's better if you train your ear through English classes. I said before, on YouTube you have a lot of videos. Could be a good thing. Practice your reading. I said before, on internet you have a lot of tools. You will find a lot of basic text in English, so you can practice your reading as well. As you said, it's very important to take into account your output. I mean, your in other words, to take into account your own production. I mean, your writing, you're speaking.
Mhm.
Create your own environment, your English environment. Try to spend a lot of time listening to, could be a video, I said before, could be a series, because in that moment you are training your ear, and at the same time you are watching something that is interesting for you. So could be through songs, through videos, but at the same time try to produce something, because you cannot be all the time just listening to someone or to a video. You have to produce something. So could be, as I said before, could be just write short sentences, just to practice, just to produce something. But in one moment you have to produce something. You cannot be all the time just hearing to someone or to something. So create. This is something good to highlight. I mean, you have to create your environment, your English, in this case, your English environment, because it's very important. Um, Language, I'm not going to go deeper, but language is a psychological issue. It's a psychological, it's our psychological development. So you have to take into account that you have to train your mind to be used to use this language, in this case, English.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so yeah, exactly. We, as you mentioned, we have YouTube, all the and podcasts and all the, we have a lot in our favor. If you want to learn a language, we're lucky in a generation where we could make use of all sorts of resources. I can't imagine, like, in my parents' generation, they couldn't get access to as many resources as we can. So yeah, so if you, I feel like we could always, make the most out of the social media, the learning platforms, and yeah, and also I want to kind of reiterate what you just mentioned. Is that the immersive learning environment is very important. Yeah, that's it. Like, when we were like baby, we didn't know, okay, we didn't know what to say, or we couldn't understand any single word. We just we just listen to people around us, and we try to speak with a mama, papa. It's like we try to kind of express ourselves without any fear. Yeah, that's it. And you need to create that kind of bubble for yourself, like listening to yeah, whatever in English, and speaking whatever yeah, to others. And also, so I just want to go back to the point that we made previously. So do you know what? When I was in the UK, I saw some kids, like they might come from some, I don't know, Asian countries or Latin American countries. Basically, none of them were English speakers, but they could pronounce, those kids could pronounce the English words very well. And I just happened to ask one of the parents to see how they could do that. They were so little. They were just 3 or 2 years old, but the kids, wow, they just pronounced those words in an amazing way, but their parents had no idea about those words. The parent, yeah, so that lady just told me her kids really are really into some cartoon and anime, that they just apply cartoon and anime at home. Even, yeah, it's that really worked, and they kind of read after they read after the person on TV, and they just do it without any fear. I feel like learning language is like that. We need to we just need to go with it and do whatever we want, we think might be good for us, instead of being afraid of any judgment or criticism. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's all down to you. You're the one who get benefit from it, and not anybody else. Yeah.
Yeah, yes, I agree with you. I mean, in some words, don't be shy. I mean, you you're not going to be judged. I mean, all of us make a lot of mistakes, and that's it. I feel like we cover all the aspects about this conversation.